Hello, everybody. Double-handed wave thing. I'm CC Wall, and Zoe Humphries is over in that direction.
Hello.
She says hello. She's going to be doing all of the comments and questions and stuff like that. Welcome to the Black Star Canyon Q&A. A couple things right off the bat. Like everything, when we do something like this, it takes a while to get it going because we're trying to work out all the bugs and all the fun stuff. So how's that coming?
Interesting. I've just got a huge...
Why is my face so big?
I don't know.
What did you click on?
I clicked on the link.
She clicked on something and it's huge.
This could be it.
Is her in that direction?
Oh.
Oh. She says
there's me.
Okay. Now, can you make that smaller so you could actually see the comments?
Yeah.
There you go. So, we almost have this taken care of. We had Starbucks earlier, so we should have a bunch of energy. I have my other cup of coffee. I have what's left of the wine. And I think we're pretty good. Yeah? Maybe? So you see the comments on there?
I can't see the comments yet, no.
Is there just like the YouTube page you could go to, or does it not let you go to the YouTube page? Okay, hang on one second, everybody. We're trying to figure this out.
Yeah, hang on.
Here is the YouTube page. I'm on it.
Okay, we're on comments.
Okay. And there it is. Look at that. I look like a gorilla scratching the top of my head like a gorilla would do. So, there are some questions that were sent in by people who either felt like they weren't going to be able to make it to the show or thought they'd be late, so they wanted to get the questions in. So I have a bunch of those questions, and if you have any others, if you're watching this on Google Plus with the Hangouts and all that stuff, there should be some sort of questions button, like ask them a question or some kind of thing like that. If you're watching on YouTube, you could leave a comment on the YouTube thing or a question in there. And if you're watching on Facebook, or if you just have the Facebook event page open, you could ask a question there and we will pull those up. So the first question that we have here, we're just going to jump right into it, is from Tom. And he says, is Google Hangouts going to give you a hard time again? I believe the answer to that question is yes. Zoe?
Yes.
Yes. So thank you, Tom.
Not too bad, actually, surprisingly.
Is it okay?
I'm not on Google. Are you on Google Hangouts for the question for the?
Yeah, because they should show up in here.
Okay, well I'm on YouTube, and I've got Facebook open. So
I mean, if you want to run through the Hangouts page in another tab, like the event page, just to see, I think they would just show up, but again, we don't know. All right, so again, we're talking about Black Star Canyon, and it's the third season, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this now instead of at the beginning of the season or at the end of the season is because I think right now where we are in the story is the halfway point, and everything changes from here on out. And if you read, if you're all caught up, I hope you're all caught up. If you're not all caught up, I'll try to be vague when it comes to very recent events. But if you saw the clue at the end of the last episode, it was very haunting and vague about what's going to be happening. So if there was ever anything from the first two seasons and then the first 3 episodes of this season that you've been wondering about, I really wanted to nail that stuff right now and kind of see where people think everything's going from this point out. There is a bit of news, a little update we would like to share.
Hell yeah,
that happened within the last hour. Black Star Canyon Season 1, Episode 1 is right this second #1 on the Amazon bestsellers list for short reads for mystery, thriller, and suspense in the free books. So that sounds like a lot of words to be able to get something, but I tell you what, that has been quite the thing we've been trying to tackle all this season, was to be able to get a Amazon bestseller ranking. So yay, it worked. We did it.
That was really good.
We're very happy.
Very, very happy about it. It's exciting.
Yeah. So that was that. So thank you all for helping out with that stuff. I have a question here from Jeff, who says, who dies next? Well, what I will tell you is this, because I'm obviously not going to tell you exactly who dies next. But in episode 4, which comes out on the 14th, on Wednesday, 2 people will die in that episode. And I don't even think Zoe knows that yet.
No.
No, she doesn't know that yet.
I didn't know that.
One person is someone who you probably suspected, and one person is someone you did not suspect at all. So I hope that is pleasant to hear. She's already kind of pissed off at me because she's been doing the edits for this episode. And for those of you who know, there's a character she likes, and something isn't going great with that person. And she's
not amused at all.
She's taking it out on me. So that's how things work. So I hope that answers your question. Now we have Amber. Did anyone famous inspire you for any of the characters of Black Star Canyon? The only character that I actually based off of someone from something else was Eugene Wellington. His whole demeanor, his whole how much of a dick he is, and the rich guy and the whole thing. That was really, really based on Ben Horn from Twin Peaks. Like, very, very much. Like, he was definitely the inspiration for that character. I'm trying to think if there was other famous people that were actually based. I guess Reagan, I don't know if that would necessarily be based, but it's just the guy who I see playing him is, what's his name? Walter Brimley. I always forget his name.
It's not Walter. Wilfred.
Wilfred Brimley.
Yeah, I think
Is that his name? The guy from
The Thing
and the diabetes commercials.
Which is why I love him so much.
I totally see him as Reagan all the time. And like every time he like sucks the bourbon out of his mustache, I just picture him ready to do a diabetes commercial. So good stuff there. Next, this is from Eric. Jack Hart is probably going to have a lot to say if and when he finds his voice again. What will be the first words out of his mouth?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question. Because more likely than not, it's going to be like, holy shit, or fucking hell, or expletive.
Knowing you, it will be.
Yeah, I don't know. For those of you who are caught up, you might be able to kind of guess what would probably be happening with him next season. And at that point, you could kind of start picking expletives or things that you'll probably think he would be saying. And none of them would be pleasant. But, yeah.
No. They wouldn't at all. I've been very surprised. Were you looking at me in shock there in case I was going to say something?
No, is that what you think he would say?
No.
Oh, I've been very surprised. I have my voice back.
No. I've been very surprised in how things have been turning out with that character lately. Because I never liked him to start with, but I like him even less now.
Yeah. And it's weird because if you aren't caught up yet, when did that start? In the 3rd episode?
Yeah.
like this season, he's almost sympathetic because he can't talk and he can't move his hands properly, and he's just like kind of going down the deep end or whatever. But some stuff comes up about his past that makes him super fucking unlikable. Like really, 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 really unlikable. So every time anyone kind of feels sorry for him, he'll do something that completely fucks that out of the water. And
very much so.
Yeah, I really like him.
He's a great character.
There's a part of me that like, okay, I guess I'll say it. When I first, I've never told anybody this before. When I first started toying with the idea of writing a series about a weird town where all this stuff was happening, Jack's character, he wasn't named Jack yet. It was just the idea of a reporter. I was going to actually make him be a demon.
Ooh.
But then I'm like, but that's a little too, like, not just giving it away, but like too, I don't know, spiritual? Is that the, I guess, it just, I didn't like the way it was feeling.
Supernatural.
Yeah, like, but from the beginning, I've always wanted him to be kind of an evil guy. But with all the characters in this, I've been trying to do like back and forth kind of thing. So I kind of like how he's turned out, because he's not at all how I originally had him in mind.
No, he's developed, definitely.
Definitely developed.
Hugely.
Yeah.
But he was good to start with. You sort of hated him to start with, and it's, the characters got a lot more complex as it's gone on.
Well, the thing that's weird is that when I first started Black Star, he was just this reporter who was giving Detective Lucas and Cheney a hard time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I think the chapter where Cheney comes home and asks Sarah if she's ever heard of Jack Hart, and she drops the meatloaf.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot.
That was the first time I ever thought, like, oh, maybe he should be a lot more fucked up than he is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so from that moment, he's really grown a lot. So hopefully that works. So again, he's probably going to say, "Holy crap balls," or something like that. You know, this normal kind of things people ask or say. I'm trying to see if I did this right. Oh,
I'd like it to be like a gradual.
A gradual what?
Where he can only say certain things, and it's still frustrating for him because he can't. You know, he can almost get things out, but he can't explain himself. He can't talk his way out of things, you know.
To be honest, I don't even know how that's going to go.
No.
But I don't know. But we will find out. He is going to be in a very large predicament next season. So, yeah, we'll just take it from there. Okay. And this one is from Craig, and he says, how did Zoe come to do your artwork, and how do you guys come up with the look you do for the Black Star Canyon covers? Would you like to slide over, and or do you just want to talk from there? You can just talk from there. That's fine. It's up to you.
Well, we started off, I was doing the Slasherton books for you, wasn't I? And we started doing those. And then you did the covers for Black Star Canyon originally, because I was just learning how to do the computer, you know, learning to use my tablet and stuff that I've got.
Yeah.
And I was really limited with what I could do.
And the covers I did were not that good.
Well, if you'll be able to see them, we have them posted on the page and things, don't we?
Well, yeah, if you go to authorccwall.com, there's two different, there's one about like the cover debacle or whatever. that shows all the old covers, and then there's an interview with you where you talk about it.
Yeah, where I talk about the whole process and everything. But basically, it's we started doing. You did the covers, and you did them like with a photograph from the actual place, because it is a place in California, isn't it? Very close to here.
Yeah, it's probably about an hour and a half away.
Yeah. So we used a photograph from the actual place, and we kind of edited it a bit, so there was it was in like a kind of window, and you did like a kind of barbed wire effect for the lettering and stuff, didn't you? And
it was just all blurry, like I was a lot of blur on it.
It looked really good, but
it wasn't that great.
Well, I liked it, but it was kind of, they were too similar. We did them in different tones of black and grey, didn't we? I
wanted it to like get darker as the episodes went on.
Yeah, that was the idea.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, while you were doing that, I was practicing because I had to do the shallow book cover and which one? The romance one, the gothic romance.
And the Cartwright Twain.
Yes. Excuse me. So I did a lot of practicing, just using paint and things like that, really, in my Photoshop program, which I use. And then we started doing the Bloodlust romance ones, and that's when we kind of discovered the silhouette, using like a black silhouette on a red screen.
Yeah, I remember I said, because like I'm a huge fan of like, and you are too, of like old movie posters and old book covers and stuff like that. But there were a lot of like old movie posters that did that kind of minimal, and like especially like in the 20s and 30s, like the German horror movies and stuff, did a lot of stuff like that.
Dr. Caligari and stuff like that. We love all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And
we were particularly influenced by Saul Bass and the Vertigo.
Well, I remember for Bloodlust Romance, I showed you the Django Unchained poster.
Yeah, with
red with the chain coming down, and then them on horses at the very bottom. Yeah. And I'm like, this is like the color and this is the look and feel I want, but just make it a gun, And that was kind of how it started.
Crap, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
And we just kind of played around with it. And then we stumbled across a blog called, I can't remember what it's called, but it was Risa Rodil, she's called.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And she does all sorts of like fan art for things, but she does a lot of posters and things for Hannibal and all sorts of different things. But she uses the same kind of technique where it's just silhouettes of things in different, like limited palettes.
Yeah.
And I watched quite a few of her tutorials where she taught us how to do textures and things as well on top of the image. So we just kind of played around with it, and then we started doing the first cover, didn't we? Which is the yellow one with the red telephone, which we've altered since.
Yeah.
For the first episode, which is out now, the very first episode for season 1.
But that was crazy because we had to do all 6 covers again, and then all the new covers for the season 2.
Yeah.
So we did them right on top of each other.
So it kind of like was crazy, but we just liked the idea of keeping it minimal and use it. I just sort of kind of stumbled around really. The second episode was kind of like a mixture. The one with the silhouette and the door, that was like a mixture of like my art. Yeah, my art. Like my drawing of the silhouette in amongst sort of geometric shapes. And then the third one was another one where the trees were the triangles and the shapes, but I did a little bit of my thing. Yeah, for Lucas. And then after that, I kind of tried to pare it down even more and make it even more simple.
Well, if you remember, this is funny because the 4th episode, the one with the gun and the sun like setting, the original design I had for that was like a whole silhouette of a dude holding a gun, and it was like looking up from the ground at him.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I thought it looked, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in the 80s there was this artist and he did a lot of like AIDS LA kind of AIDS walk posters, and on the Cosby Show, there were a bunch of his art throughout the Cosby Show, but it would be just like a red kind of silhouette of a dude with a big thick black outline, and he'd be all. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
I'm so awful with that, but I thought it looked like exactly like that, and I was just like, this is awful. Like, I don't want to do that.
I can't actually remember that you gave me, because you give me a sketch.
I'll show you the picture again.
Yeah.
But he was like,
oh, that's right.
yeah, it was really cheesy.
So we managed to like sort of narrow it down, didn't we? And made it more simple and
just
that kind of
his
thing.
arm. And that's when you just said, I'm just going to do shapes, because that whole gun in the hand was all rectangles.
The sun, everything was like just shapes.
Yeah.
And after that, I thought, right, I'm going to do this, because it's kind of challenge as well. And I love trying to get the shape that I need, just using the blocks and manipulating things around. And I've described in the interview on the blog, I've shown sort of pictures of each stage.
And it's that same episode.
Yeah,
it's episode 4.
Episode 4 of the first season. Just to give you an idea of what we do each time, and then to add a texture at the end, which makes a lot of difference. And that
huge difference.
It takes a lot of time to decide which one kind of gets chosen, because
not really. I usually pick the first one, and then she's like, well, let me see a couple more. Let me try a couple more.
And then we go for the first one that you pick.
Not always, but a lot of the time.
But also it's difficult, because when you're looking at the Amazon page, you're looking at a little thumbnail. So that I was explained in the blog, that you have to kind of bear that in mind. Sometimes it looks really good at a bigger size, but when you narrow it down,
gets little, it looks like shit.
You just can't see it clearly enough and stuff, and all that needs to be taken into account. So, yeah.
Well, right on. Thanks, Craig.
Oh, I just want to say as well that the one that's coming up for episode 5 of the 3rd season, I was really worried about that one, but it's turned out really good in the end. So we're not going to say. Are we going to say what it's about? What it is? You
can say what it is.
It's a spiral staircase, but it's not a round one. It's kind of like a rectangular winding staircase.
To fit the cover better.
Yeah. So when he told me to do that, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do that?
And she kept putting it off and putting it off.
Yeah, I really did put it off. But in the end, it's come out really well, I think, anyway. So
it looks really good.
And they just get more challenging each time, but I enjoy them more, every time we do them now. So just look forward to whatever he asks me to do next.
Although I did ask her to do the season 3 cover like last week, and gave her a bunch of different ideas, and she's been lollygagging.
I've been editing, actually. Yeah, okay. I have been a little bit.
Okay, so do you listen to music when you write? If so, what have you been listening to? Well, with Black Star, usually I listen to like old doo-wop or like film scores, but this last week I've been listening to all sorts of different stuff, and I was listening to The Cure and the Smiths and Susie and a little bit of Christian Death, and I noticed that the middle of this episode that I'm working on right now got a little depressing, and I needed to up it a notch. So I started listening to the new Marilyn Manson album, and that got me into listening to a bunch of the older stuff. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't know about Black Star is that when I originally started putting this together, like 15 years ago or whatever, I was listening to a lot of classical music, the Twin Peaks soundtrack, and the Marilyn Manson Mechanical Animals album and Hollywood album, and then the instrumental Glenn Danzig albums. But I was listening to a lot of Manson at the time because the band Confession Conspiracy, Jason's band, originally the band was going to have a lot bigger role in Black Star Canyon, and the way Marilyn Manson does his concept albums, like the story from beginning to end, I really, really liked. And so I wanted to have a lot of that in Jason's band. And kind of the way the first season was always set up with the concert and the shooting and all that, it got to the point where I'm like, I don't know how to come back from this after what happens at Becca's house with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
So the band idea kind of faded away a little bit because I don't know how he would come back from all that. But yeah, so that was just, it was really cool. So like last night we listened to that for like 6 hours and just like I jammed through the rest of the episode and it got really exciting. So that was a lot of fun.
Do you think it makes a difference?
I think it does.
If it was on shuffle and it, you know, and it sort of went on to something that was more depressing, say, would do you think that would influence your mood when you're writing?
Kinda, but it depends on the character, because like what I like doing with the doo-wop stuff is the whole like juxtaposition of like kind of like that Buffy episode, like I Only Have Eyes for You kind of thing. It's like a love song, but like they keep playing it in this horrible moment where this dude kills his girlfriend or whatever. So like all of that kind of stuff I really like. So like I'll find like a song that could have a dual meaning to like a scene, and then that really influences it. But other than that, a lot of times I just don't notice it's on. And hang on.
Big plane going
Big plane. Big plane. Okay. Next question here. This is from Jeff. And this one's kind of a hard one to get into, but where did Deputy Sue's husband escape to, and will he be terrorizing her now that he's out? Now, when he did escape, I never thought of where it was he actually went. But if the question is he going to come back? Yes, he's going to come back. I don't know if terrorizing is a good...
Well, you can't give it away anyway.
I can't give it away, but there were 2 chapters in, I think, the second episode of this season where Lucas was at Sue's apartment and Sue was at Sue's apartment at 2 different times. And the door to the red room, or the red door to that room, was open, but neither one of them went in it.
Yeah.
And when I was writing it, I always kind of thought, like, dude, I wonder if he's hiding behind that door. And like Sue had that moment where she just turned her back to the door and was like, okay, if you're going to come kill me, come fucking kill me, kind of thing. And then nothing happened. And she was like, ugh. But so in my head, I've been kind of toying with the idea of maybe he was in there when that happened, to the scene of the crime or something. I don't know. But
which is kind of creepy in itself if he had been there, which would be interesting to think about.
I don't know. He might be there. He might not be there.
He's a good character to have in the background because he's obviously capable of doing a lot of things, isn't he? So
the thing I like about this is that stuff happens in one season, but nothing happens because of it until like 2 seasons later.
Yeah.
And so by the time we get to the 5th season, all that season's going to be is just cleanup of all the crap. And it's just, that's so much fun to me. So,
and to the reader, I imagine.
I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. Okay. Amber, if Black Star Canyon ever became a web series, who would your dream cast be for it?
Ooh.
Well, the funny thing about it being a web series was probably, what year was that? 2011. In 2011, we toyed with the idea of making it a web series, and I was going to cast it with people that I had worked with in movies and stuff. And so this is kind of neat. But like Jonathan Kensington, my friend and actor and director Charlie Vaughn.
I was just going to say Charlie Vaughn.
He would have been great, yeah. He would have been really good. And I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but the girl we were going to have play his wife, like the big conversation we had about it was Charlie's like, dude, she's like so much older than me. Like, how am I even going to pull this off? And for the life of me right now, I can't remember who it was. But I remember we had like 4 or 5 different like conversations about how I needed to cast that better because he thought the girl.
I can kind of imagine Francine being older than Jonathan, though.
I could see it now.
Yeah.
It seemed like they should probably be.
Do you think you've kind of subconsciously written them more like that?
No, because like the only thing about Francine that I would think would stick out as her being older just happened like in the last episode.
Yeah.
Like before that, I never really thought what their ages would be like. But I was gonna have I wanted Mick Foley, the wrestler, Mankind and Cactus Jack. I wanted him to play Henry Goodman.
Really?
And I always cracked up when I pictured that scene where he's like, "Hey, I forgot my glove for my tube snake or whatever," as Mick Foley, and it would crack me up. But
that would be so good.
The guy who I knew, who I thought would play that part well, was actually Ron Jeremy.
Oh no!
And so that would have been just creepy and weird, like right off the bat, and you would know immediately when you saw him, oh, he's up to no good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty funny. But like the cast of characters, if you followed any of the movies that I made, I mean, more likely than not, Chandler Manis, Alyssa Dowling, Alina Madison, they would have all ended up being in it. I remember after I did Awesome Girl Gang Street Fighter and Dracula, there was this guy, Johnny Camp, and I was kind of considering him maybe for Lucas or Cheney or something. But the web series thing was just like anyone who I could get who I thought would be able to pull off the parts. And I was going to play Gus.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, knowing what happens, that's not a huge surprise.
Mm-hmm. What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Nothing?
That's what I thought.
Have you got anything else?
Zoe was about to play a freaking corpse at the bottom of a goddamn lake.
Oh!
Why, what's up?
I've got a question from Tom here.
Yeah.
On YouTube, and he's saying, has any character developed in a way surprising to you, or are they still as you intended them from the beginning?
I would say probably none of them are how I intended them from the beginning. Maybe...
That's interesting.
That is. Maybe, well, here's this. Like, the characters who were newer characters are pretty much the way I intended them. Like Mo, Reagan.
Reagan's been there from the beginning, but he wasn't there
when you from the beginning,
originally thought it was.
Exactly. Shit. Because Lucas is pretty much the common denominator kind of thing. Like, he's pretty stable. And there's going to be something that happens in the next episode, in episode 5, that is probably the most out of character thing that I ever saw him doing.
Yeah.
But other than that, He's been pretty solid. Cheney is definitely changed. Sue has changed.
Cheney's changed massively as far as I can see.
Yeah, Cheney will probably end up with the most stretched out arc, like from where he started to where he ends.
Yeah.
His is going to be like probably the most dramatic. But yeah, I mean, most of the characters have completely. I mean, Dakota and Colt are pretty much how I figured they would be. Becca's pretty much how I figured she would be.
Yeah.
Eric, Elizabeth, they were, but yeah, Francine is definitely different. Morgan.
I was going to say
Morgan is
Eugene's wife.
Yeah, she's just gonna get way nuttier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's quite.
That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that is.
But I'm getting all giddy about it. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Tom. That's a cool
Thank
question.
you. Let me see here. What was the inspiration for the dungeon with Dakota, Ben, and Larry? Okay. Now, this is actually something else that I've never talked about, and you don't know about this either. Before I ever wrote Black Star Canyon or had an idea for it or anything, I had this idea for a story because I was really into Universal Monsters and Frankenstein and all that. And I had this idea, like, what if there was like a mad scientist and instead of just making Frankenstein, he made Frankensteins of each of the actors that played him for Universal, because each one was so drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Boris Karloff Frankenstein was way different than the Bela Lugosi, which was way different than the Lon Chaney, which was way different than the Glenn Strange. So I had this idea that there would be this dungeon, and inside the dungeon you would have the 4 different Frankensteins, and you would have this one mad scientist who would be like kind of doing the thing. So there would be one who was constantly growing and constantly learning and all this other stuff. There would be one who wants to grow and wants to talk, but for some reason the scientist always brings him down. Then there's one that's just totally belligerent and angry all the time, and then one that's basically a prop and on a lab table in the back of the room until the very end of the movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my whole idea with it, but I didn't really have a story for it. It was just like a really fun idea. And then when I started putting Black Star Canyon together, the idea was that that would eventually come into Black Star Canyon. But I didn't know it was not going to necessarily be with Dakota. And I didn't know that Larry would have no legs. And I didn't. So like those things I didn't know. And in fact, originally Glenn's character is obviously referring to Glenn Strange when I put it together. His thing when he was supposed to be like a paper mache body that the other guys in the cells thought was real, and he was really like a speaker box.
Oh,
so
really?
The doctor could like interact with them without them knowing it was the doctor
and mess with them.
Yeah, but I just thought that was like, as stupid as this sounds, I thought that was going too far in Black Star Canyon. And I'm like, come on, they're not going to fall for that shit. And so I didn't go that route with them.
Wow, that's really good.
So that's where that came from.
Yeah, that's awesome, though.
Okay. Everything cool over there?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, shit, this is covering this. Okay, cool. Next question here. Donna asks, how long have you been writing? I have been writing for the first thing I ever tried to write, I did a comic book series when I was a kid called Z-Men. And it was about this group called the Diaper Pins, who were like their leader was a little baby with a mustache, and he had baby bottles, and he would squeeze them, and like a knife would come out, and then the other bottle would squeeze, like acid would come out, and he had a cape, but he was in a diaper, and he had a mustache.
That's awesome.
And
why did this not get published?
Because I was like 8, and the bad guy team had like his like spitting image, like doppelganger, but he had a full beard.
Really?
Yeah. And then there was a guy who was like a big muscle guy, and he would flex his muscles, and his muscle would come off his arm and turn into a bubble and pick people up and take them up into outer space until they suffocated. And there was a shark guy on a surfboard.
No way.
Yeah, who shot torpedoes. And then the good guy equivalent of him was a bodyboarder with a whale head who had a harpoon that he would throw at people that had the string hooked up to his belly button.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is pretty epic.
You're telling me.
How this didn't get made, I don't know. But I made little action figures by drawing them and then gluing them onto cardboard from a shoebox and cutting them out. And they were like my little action figures. And I made 2 books and tried to sell them at school. I ended up just giving them away because no one wanted to give me any money. But then like in 6th grade, I wrote a book that was I had to do it for a school project, but I wrote a book based on a book my dad wrote that I thought was really scary that I can't really remember too much of right now. But I wrote a book of that guy's nephew that was in my dad's book, the nephew of that guy going to look for his uncle that disappeared in my dad's story, and kind of falls into the same situations kind of thing. So that was when I first like really started writing, and that was really fun. So I just kept doing it. And I was really into poetry in junior high. Like
really gothy.
Depressing. Yeah, like Edgar Allan Poe, but also Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Like I got Wilderness.
Wow.
Oh, it was pretty epic.
Pretty scary.
But yeah.
I should imagine if anyone got hold of those.
And then just being in bands, writing songs. I was a band slut all through high school and in college, and then started writing movies and went back to writing books. So I've been doing it. It's been fun.
So when did you tell everybody when you actually started?
The first book?
Yeah.
The first book I wrote was the Cartwayne Twain and the Gothic Romance as like one big thing together. And I put that out in 2005, I think, and self-published it. And self-publishing was shit then, and so nobody gave a shit. But then the Bloodlust Romance book was originally picked up by a small publisher around that same time, I think 2006, and put that book out. And then I think the second one as well. And then I got those back and put them out myself. But then I didn't do another thing because I was making movies until, 2013 is when I started doing self-publishing. And I'm really pissed I didn't start in 2011 like everybody else, or 2010. That would have been fucking amazing. But here we are today, and it's super. Right?
That's terrifying.
All right, so let's see here. Eric asks, who is Eric named after? I think he's asking a serious question here about himself. Where do most of your names come from? Which one is the favorite you've come up with? Well, Eric is actually based on a guy I knew when I first started putting this together named Eric. And he was really dating a girl named Jen.
So not you, Eric.
Not you, Eric. But what I will say is that his name was Eric with a C. And in the first 2 seasons, it was written as Eric with a C. But for some reason in season 3, he became Eric with a K. And I don't know why I changed that, but I just did.
That's
Do you
not
think?
good.
Do you think Eric thinks that it's because of him?
I think it is because of him.
Do you?
Yeah, I think he's creeping into your brain.
Maybe. But also, Sarah was spelt with an H at the end the first 2 seasons.
But isn't that just bad editing on my
But no,
part?
but we changed it. Like that all got changed. But so that was that. Where do most of your names come from?
Yeah, where do you think of like Reagan and
Well,
was that obvious?
Reagan is totally obvious. The cowboy old sheriff is named
He
after.
couldn't look any less like Ronald.
He couldn't look any less like Ronald Reagan, but it's just he is Reagan, you know. Let me see. There.
Is that one for your mum there?
Should I say that? Will people hate me if I say I named them after that? That's also kind of a little Twin Peaks nod because the sheriff in Twin Peaks was Harry S. Truman.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I was going to name my sheriff after a president, it would be after a romp 'em, stomp 'em, kick 'em in the butthole president. So I picked Reagan. And his first name is Wayne, but that's because he likes John Wayne and all that other stuff. And no one ever calls him Wayne except for Joan. This is actually going to sound kind of stupid, but I like people with short names because I hate typing out long names over and over again. So one thing I've been wanting to do is change Elizabeth's name to Liz.
What
Like this
about
whole
Jonathan
fucking
Kensington?
dude, it's Jonathan Kensington is just so proper and like snooty sounding.
Francine Kensington.
Oh my god, writing Francine over and over again.
Eugene Wellington.
Yeah, Eugene Wellington. But Eugene Wellington, like, that's a whole other thing because when I was in high school, there was this guy that we all made fun of. He was a friend of ours, but we all made fun of him like he was the rich kid. And the reason why he was the rich kid is because he lived on Wellington, because it was the street he lived on. And he just had a big house. And so we're like, oh, well, you know, we're not as cool as that guy because we don't live on Wellington. And that was always that joke.
Was he called Eugene?
No. But I had another friend who was not called Eugene, but his middle name was Eugene. And I thought that was really snooty and posh, that his middle name was Eugene. So Eugene Wellington is how that happened. But like, and I thought if there was some super rich, snobby dude, like, especially like in the 80s, like, what would his wife's name be? Morgan.
Morgan's really 80s.
Yeah, it's super 80s. Yeah. But I don't know.
What about Lucas? Where did that come from?
Lucas has been a character that I've been wanting to put in stuff forever. Like way before. Like I'm talking since high school. Like I always had this character, like Detective Lucas, that was gonna do something. But like I had no idea what the fuck I was ever gonna have him do. And when I started doing Black Star, he wasn't even called Detective Lucas yet. It was just this detective. And then I was like, oh my God, I could finally put Detective Lucas into something. And that's how that happened.
And what about Cheney?
Lawrence Cheney is Lon Chaney.
Oh, yeah.
Lawrence Talbot is what his name was in the Wolfman kind of thing. So that's where that came from. I'm trying to think of who else. Becca's name's Becca because I met a girl named Becca. She actually was one of the students at the school I was teaching at the time, when I was doing bartending and stuff like that. And everyone spelled her name wrong. Everyone put a C in it. And she would get super pissed off and throw a big-ass temper tantrum. And so that's how that happened. It was just like...
What about Mo Eastman?
Mo Eastman? Where did Mo come from? Eastman was because I wanted him to be kind of like a Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Eastman, Eastwood. I can't remember where Mo came from. It might just be like my want for writing people with short names. You know? But I'm trying to think. I don't
Is there
remember.
any other interesting ones?
Black Star Billy.
Yeah.
Black Star Billy is because there's an actual legend in Black Star Canyon about a homeless guy named Black Star Bill. That's it. And I wanted to kind of run with
They
that.
used to terrify you as kids, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Hear that? And then trying to think, who else was there?
Tom Harker.
Tom Harker. Harker's the whole Dracula thing. There's a lot of like Universal
Dr.
stuff because I was
Clive.
really into it. Well, Dr. Clive's another thing because Dr. Clive, her name's Colleen, and Colin Clive was Henry Frankenstein in the original. But Clive was supposed to be a dude.
Yeah.
And his name originally was Dr. Malik. But then I thought, I want to have more girls in this story because it's turned into a fucking sausage fest in here. So I changed Dr. Malik to a girl, but then I felt like Malik wasn't a very feminine name. And so I called her Colleen, and then Colleen turned into Clive. And so Dr. Malik disappeared until just recently.
And where's Malik come from?
I don't know. It was just...
Because some of them just pop into your head and you just think, oh, that one.
Well, I'm sure like in 2000 there was a reason why I picked Malik. But I don't remember what it is now. Especially since I got rid of it. Gus was Gus because it's a short name and it just sounds like a big fat ass jerk. Now watch, there's someone named Gus watching saying, hey, you fucking asshole, why are you calling me a jerk?
So would you say a lot of them are influenced from your horror?
Yeah, except like Colt and Dakota. I just thought like that those were two...
They're very like Wild West.
Kind of Wild West names.
Yeah, like
that you would
cowboy
name two
kind
brothers.
Of, yeah.
But, oh, and Jason's name. We should talk about this because that guy had so many different fucking names.
Really?
Yeah, his name was originally supposed to be Carfax.
Really?
Yeah, because of Carfax Abbey.
Yeah.
But then the internet happened and this stupid thing called Carfax came out, which is some website you go to get information on if your car's been in an accident. So that destroyed Carfax Abbey to me. So then I changed his name to Brahm. And I thought that was just too ridiculous. And then it was Abraham. And then it was Abe. And then it was Jason.
Did it go to Jason because of Friday the 13th, Jason?
It didn't. And that's when I started freaking out because I'm like, oh shit, he's running around in the woods. And his name's Jason. I'm like, fuck. So that was kind of like if I would have thought about that, I wouldn't have named him Jason. I would have named him something else, guaranteed.
Wow, that's nice.
And then Leonard and Helen Lee are named after my neighbors.
Yes.
Jason and Helen. And the reason why his character wasn't named Jason was because Jason was now Carfax. So, yeah. So that was a long-winded answer.
No, they're good answers. That's interesting.
Okay. Do you have anything over there?
No, we don't.
Okay. Oh, which one's my favorite that I come up with? Do I have a favorite name? I think right now my favorite name is Judge.
Judge Otis Judge.
Judge Otis
That's
Judge.
when you haven't explained. Why did you come out with him? And Chuck Grover. Where's Chuck Grover come from?
Oh, shit. Where did Chuck Grover come from? Chuck, I just thought was a name that, like a grown man named Chuck.
Yeah.
People would go like, and now I'm annoying. I'm like totally insulting people, but Chuck's character is so like, hi, everybody. I'm talking. And I just thought like a grown man with a disgusting job named Chuck. I don't know where Grover came from something, but I can't remember what it came from now. And then
Sesame Street.
No, good Lord. But
you actually have put that into the book, haven't you? And the people will have to find that about the connection with Judge and Grover.
Yeah, the Grover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Chuck is just enthralled that Judge's name is Judge, and thinks it's the coolest thing ever. But I just thought, because like you know how like there's Judge Reinhold,
Yeah.
and that's his first name.
Yeah.
I'm sure like Mike Judge, that's his last name. What if there was a judge named something Judge? And Otis was the name of the town drunk in the Andy Griffith Show,
Yeah.
which I used to watch religiously. And I just like that name for like a small town somebody.
Yeah.
You know? So Reagan always calls him Otis, and so it's just like, hey, it's Otis, but like everyone else has to refer to him as Judge. And that just kind of cracked me up a little bit. So there's that. Oh, and then Tina Tentley is the news reporter this season, and her name was originally supposed to be Vicky Vargas. And I just like, that's such a good name, Vicky Vargas. And on a whim, I did a Google search on Vicky Vargas, and it turns out that Vicky Vargas is a news reporter for Channel 4 News in the Orange County area where Black Star Canyon actually exists. So I almost put a real person in Black Star Canyon, and that would have been awful.
Been all sorts of lawsuits. Yeah.
So I like the alliteration, so I just changed it to Tina Tentley.
Yeah.
And the DA's name is Mary Murphy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on this whole alliteration thing. I should probably
Stan Lee
stop.
thing going on.
Oh yeah, huh? Peter Parker picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Yeah.
That's awful. Okay. How long does it take you to write an episode? Lately, we've been doing where I start writing on. I'm supposed to start writing on Wednesday, but I really don't start until Thursday. So I write Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe Sunday is the goal. And then on Monday and Tuesday, we edit. And then on Wednesday, we post. So 6 days from start to finish, I guess. And 3 or 4 days to write. So that is that. Jeff has a question here again. Let's see. Who or what is Hoodie and what are its goals? Well, Mr. I'm going to wreck your whole fucking series. Hoodie is probably the most mysterious character in Black Star Canyon, with the exception of one other person. But Hoodie is this character that for a while Lucas was the only one who was able to see, or at least he was the only one who noticed him. And then the only other time Hoodie ever showed up was when Elizabeth was attacked, when Henry died, when the shooting happened in the club. He was always just around when horrible things were happening. And the only other time the reader sees him is when the book is taking place inside the room with the man on the phone. And he's kind of standing in the back.
Did you mention about Elizabeth? Because she saw in DJ.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was daydreaming.
It's okay. What are you daydreaming about?
I don't know. I was following the different pages.
She's like, la la la. But no, he obviously, I don't want to say is doing the bidding for somebody, but he's kind of like I guess we could say a henchman of someone else. Like there's someone who's worse than him. Yeah. So
someone who's pulling his strings.
Pulling the strings. So he basically is someone who does the things that the man on the phone says. And the only people who we know for sure have talked to the man on the phone are Jack Hart, Dr. Clive,
Jane Doe,
Jane Doe,
Doheny.
Well, because she was on the phone, so you assume that that's who she was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a stretch, but I'll accept it. And Eugene.
Yeah.
And
do you know for sure that that's Eugene?
Did Eugene talk to him?
He's talked to someone.
There was a scene, I can't remember what season it was. It might have even been this season, where he was supposed to be talking to him.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if this, I'll let this spill. I don't know if I actually wrote this, I can't remember. But there's a clue in the clues, I think, that talks about Jonathan having a run-in with him. And then Dyer was talking to the man on the phone. So, yeah, the man on the phone has been talking to people since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And Hoodie does things for him.
He's the creepiest character.
I will give you another hint, maybe.
Ooh.
It's kind of a preview. This season, Hoodie will start talking to people. Because Hoodie hasn't really said anything before, I don't think. So, as the last 2 episodes are coming out, there will be conversations that he has. I have one more question. If I could figure out how to make this thing work, which is very doubtful at the moment, I think. But let me just check one page real quick, because there is a page that I haven't been checking, and I don't know if you've been checking it. Okay. Awesome possum. Okay. I think we're good. So I have one question left. And I lost my page here. Here we are. I found you guys. Yay. I have one question. Is there any more?
No.
No? Okay. So the last question I have here is, can you do an impression of what Black Star Billy sounds like in your head? The answer is yes. Thank you, Eric, for that question. That's it.
Do the impression.
Well, there's 2 different impressions here, because I had a vision of what he was like, and then you had a completely different version of what he was like. So then the version you had made me kind of think of a different thing.
Okay.
Because originally I was thinking he was more like Bobby on Sons of Anarchy.
I know, I didn't think
and you're
that
like
at
you're
all.
like he's got to be a little wiry.
I thought he was going to be a wiry little old man with like a huge long mustache, you know, like Yosemite Sam kind of.
But with legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like skinny long, you know, like leathery.
Yeah. Well, there is a thing like there's this game called Guns and Glory that you could get on the iPhone or iPad or whatever. And it's like this kind of Wild West game that I was like hardcore into over the summer. Like I was playing it all the freaking time and not getting any fucking work done. And there's a guy, I can't remember what his name is, but he's the guy with the gun that when he shoots, I think they call him Grandpa.
There you go.
And when he shoots it, like everyone goes slow, like it like, oh. And for some reason, like, I think it makes he laughs when you like buy him.
Okay.
Or like hire him or whatever. He goes, yeah.
There, that's it, exactly.
So like, if that's the voice that I hear in my head, he's like he's almost like a villain on Scooby-Doo now that I think about it. But it's like, you're You were the like, kind of like, I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you dang kids.
Yeah, that's exactly how I picture it.
But like, I see him as more spry than.
No, I think of him as spry, but just old.
Yeah.
Like, no, not as old as that. Like, kind of, I don't know, like old, but you can't sort of define his age because he's like undefeatable somehow.
Well,
indestructible.
Well, here's the thing, because like originally I didn't really see him as someone who was going to be around a long time, and so at the end of episode 2 of this season, something happens to him, and then when Lucas and Reed show up, he's gone, and so you're like, oh, he must have got away or something, and then in episode 3, something else happens to him, and like most people would just assume that he's dead at that point. And I guess he could be, but I haven't decided if he's dead or not. Because he would be fun to play with again. But I
like the fact that he's like this, potentially this like little wiry character that no matter what happens to him, he just keeps bouncing back kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can't quite work out whether he's real or not somehow. Because he's a legend after all.
Yeah, because like, and that was another thing. Because like,
everybody's heard of him in the story, haven't they? But no one.
But the only people who actually knew about him was like Reagan.
Yeah.
And like that whole bit when Reagan's like, Billy like shoots at them when they're coming up.
Yeah.
And Reagan's like, they're like, oh, sorry, we thought you were the monster or something like that. And Reagan's like, yeah, I bet he is sad that he missed.
Yeah.
So like there's some like crazy.
There's some history.
Yeah, and then Reagan's like, don't trust that guy. I don't trust him. So something happened, and I don't know what, but I don't know. Reagan's not very happy with Billy.
So you say quite often, as the last question, you say quite often things like, I haven't decided yet, or, but you are very organised. You've had this story in your head for as long as you can remember, kind of thing, you know. So how would you say you're writing, how do you go about writing it? Do you have your basic guideline and then these things develop as you're going along? Like, why, how do you not know what's going to happen, kind of thing?
Well, because when I started Black Star, I had the first scene and the last scene. Like the first scene of the first episode and the last scene that will be the end of everything. And like those were the first 2 things I had. And so everything's been kind of building towards the middle, I guess you could say. But a lot of these characters that are newer characters, like I haven't been sitting with their story arcs for 15 years. You know, it's still kind of fresh.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. And like, there's some stuff happening with Reagan right now that you're not happy about. That's all new stuff to me. You know what I'm saying?
So where does that come from?
It just happens. Like Reagan's just talking and then those words come out of his mouth when I'm typing. And I'm just as shocked as you are.
That's awesome though, because like that's quite unnerving as well, because anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Like there's in this episode that's coming out on Wednesday, there's a scene where Reed's in the hospital. And that whole scene, like the only note I had was God, I don't want to ruin anything for anyone who hasn't read the 3rd episode.
Yeah. Just be careful.
Well, there was this part where the only note I had was in my chapters, like, because I know roughly how many chapters I have to write and how many words each chapter has to be in order to make an episode work, kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, there has to be some chapter where Reed talks to so-and-so in the hospital, or at least checks on him. And that chapter turned into him strutting around, feeling all badass, then feeling all insecure, and then going to check on everybody, and then have everyone give him shit, and then have him leave, get an exam, have that happen to him, and all that other shit, and then the thing happens at the very end. That I had in my notes too, like, and then this happens kind of thing. But all that other shit was just Reed being Reed. Yeah,
so because you've spent a lot of time with these people now, they kind of write themselves. I know that's cliche, but they kind of
do. Chuck writes himself all the time.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm going to let you guys know, I had to pull a thing. Chuck was going to have gas in this one scene, and I thought it was too much. He was going to be flatulating. And I thought maybe he shouldn't. So I might put that in later. I just thought at this one scene he shouldn't do it. But
So
I love Chuck.
Yeah, I do too.
But I guess that's it. So thank you, everyone who sent in your questions. That was awesome. The new episode comes out on Wednesday. We are #1 Amazon bestseller as of the 2nd. I hope it still is. Wait.
There's one last question.
Hold on.
Sorry, this is 12 minutes ago, but it's just come up now.
Oh my gosh. You got to refresh
I've
pages.
been refreshing all the time. Sorry, Tom. I've been refreshing constantly.
You're so refreshed.
Tom's put, through contests, I was lucky enough to win a Black Star Canyon mug and poster. In
Yay.
brackets, I love Zoe's covers. He really did say that.
She's not just tooting her own horn.
Is there other merch up for sale, or are there plans to do so?
Well, I think there have always been plans. Like we were talking about doing more bookmarks and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I really, really want to do shirts.
Yeah, we really want to do shirts.
Really want to do shirts.
We'd like to do shirts of covers, certain covers. There was ones that we really liked, but we're not sure how to do it because there's such a lot of covers that maybe we would have to...
Because at the end of all this, there's going to be 30 covers and then the tour guide and the cookbook.
Yeah.
So 32 covers.
Maybe we could do with some feedback and let us know, what you would think about that. But we'd like to do more mugs as well. And put the artwork up for sale as well. I'd like to put the artwork up as prints, so people could buy them separately if they wanted to. And we can certainly give them away for contests and things.
One of the saddest things to me about ending Black Star Canyon is not doing these covers anymore.
I know.
Because, I think that's, one of the funnest things that me and you do.
Yeah, I know. We have such good times, don't we? Try to work through it and decide what we're going to do.
There was another thing where I was thinking about having you do, certain scenes.
Yeah.
From the stuff, if we wanted to keep that going kind of thing. I have no idea. But I thought that would be neat.
What was that for?
I don't know if I wanted to do it as prints or because remember Sean hit us up and said we should make a coloring book.
Oh, that was
Yeah, and we would do scenes of stuff.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. But
yeah, so if anybody's got any ideas, please let us know what you think. But definitely the t-shirts are a big option.
Yeah.
And
that's not just because I wear a lot of X's on my tees. Oh, that's so stupid.
Yeah,
Go
that
ahead.
was bad.
Yeah.
And posters and things and prints. I'd like to do prints.
Prints would be cool.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll do more paperbacks as well.
Yeah, we're wanting to do all the paperbacks as well, but it's just getting them all organised really on the site, isn't it? It takes a lot of time, so we just try to get the ebooks out at the minute.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yep.
Can you think of anything else? No.
Temporary tattoos for the inside of your dog's ear. If you guys haven't done this yet, put temporary tattoos on your dog's stomach and on the inside of their ear, especially the ones on the inside of the ear because they last forever. I put a heart on my dog's ear and it lasted for 3 months. It was awesome.
And she looked amazing.
She looked amazing. So good stuff. She's such a little jerk. But yeah, I would love to do something. It would be great.
Yeah. There's all sorts of things, but we're open to ideas. But I would love to do, the prints would be really nice.
I would like to know now what everyone's favorite cover is.
Yeah.
Or at the end of the season, because, the last time we did a what's your favorite cover, it was the first season. and there's like 12. There will be 12 more covers by the time we're done with this season. So
it'd be cool, wouldn't it, to have like a vote, and then we could put that out as a
for real. That'd be awesome. All right.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Tom. That was a cool question.
And just so you guys know, 2 people will be dead by Wednesday. So
oh my god,
this one over here, and she doesn't know yet, so she's probably freaking out.
I'm not amused if it's
she's not. If it's who? Were you about to say who I think it is?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good Lord. Can't go killing people like that. Oh, wait, no. I do have a question here. Okay. I'm sorry. Now that you have so many characters in the series, do you get inspired by certain personalities to suddenly take a scene in a new direction, or do you generally know where each scene will go and stay with the plan as you write? That's from Sean. And then he said, okay, great. You just answered my question as I was submitting it. It's like the Psychic Network. Anyway, my follow-up was, do you picture a scene you're developing first as a film director or as a writer? What I've noticed about writing Black Star as opposed to the other stuff is that it's very dialogue heavy. And if you've read any of my other stuff, like the Zombie Alpha stuff, or even Black Market, or how the new stuff is going to be, Black Star is so heavy dialogue. It's almost like you're watching a soap opera. It's like you're familiar with the room they're in now, and now they're going to talk. And then they just talk and talk and talk. And it's that whole show don't tell thing. And when I started doing Black Star, I was really afraid of being too much of a narrator, because if you've read my other stuff, I narrate a lot. And I like to talk a lot as a narrator. And with Black Star, I've tried super hard to not do that. And I'll be writing, and then I have to stop and delete like 3 or 4 lines, and then I'll just have like Lucas say what was happening right then. But a lot of it too is because this is something that I've been planning for so long to be on television or something like that. I want it as like fast paced and as quick as possible, and trying to make everyone's dialogue so different from one another so you really can see how they interact. And so in doing that, there's a lot of times when I'll notice like one character goes, now look, yada, 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 yada. And then the next chapter I'm writing somebody else, and then I write, now look. And I'm like, uh-oh, they're not allowed to talk like that because that's how Eugene talks, or something like that.
Yeah.
So then I have to go and fix that. And I know stuff slips through the cracks, especially when we're going at this pace. But I see it more as television developing as a soap opera, where it's just like you have your master and you're over the shoulder and you're over the shoulder. And that's like all the shots you get in a scene kind of thing. Just to have the characters talk their way through everything.
You would love it to be a television.
Oh my God, yeah. We've been trying to make that happen, and it will eventually. Like Mary Shelley and Bride of Frankenstein. It will, I think. It's like, who directed you like that? It's horrible. Okay, so anyway. All right, I think that's it. So thank you everybody who sent in a question and asked. This was really fun. And we are going to have a wrap party. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but we need it when we're done with this season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I need it. You guys don't even understand. I don't sleep anymore. I am a wreck all the fucking time. My hair's getting grayer every time I do a Black Star Canyon season. So I'm going to need to let loose a little bit. We might have a wine and cheese and bourbon party.
Oh, that would be not so much the bourbon, but the rest I'm in with.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll all come for that.
And hopefully everybody
Won't be mad at me
we've
at the
got
end of the
Shah
season too.
saying, hey Creep, hey Zoe.
Hey.
Hey Shah.
But yeah. And hopefully I cleaned up on my fantasy wrestling tonight.
What was I going to say?
Party. Shar.
No. Oh, I was just going to say, I hope everybody gets the books and reads along so that we can discuss it.
Yeah.
So that we can talk about the season together. Because it's difficult. I mean, obviously, we'd have to keep spoilers and things.
I think we did okay
Yeah.
tonight. I was really worried about people saying, like, why the hell did blah, 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 blah.
But I'd love people to, you know, ask questions, you know, or give feedback from the third season and just sort of let us know what you think of how things are progressing and stuff. Because, you know, we get feedback and stuff, but it's just like all the time we need to know what everyone thinks.
It's so weird because I was
important.
always worried about the third season in all my notes. And I think this is just like the darkest bit that's happened.
It is, and it's the most exciting so far.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on.
So pick that up on Wednesday. And thank you, everyone who's been helping us get up in the rankings. I appreciate it. And I guess that's it. So if you guys still have questions, just leave them in the Facebook event page, and we'll get to those soon and let everyone know what's going on. So until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. That's from Jerry Springer.
I don't think you had to tell them.